Hello, welcome along, welcome back to the channel. Nigel with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench, and finally we have part one of this Pocher 1/8 Lamborghini Aventador LP-700-4. I've already done two videos on this kit. First one was a review, basically looking at all the parts inside and how lovely they are, and then I did another one about preparing yourself and looking at issues with the instructions and stuff like that. And if you haven't seen the last video, I can't remember if I called it part two, did I? I can't remember. But this is part one of the build anyway, so it might be part three, but it's part one of the build. Basically, the instructions that come with the Pocher Lamborghini Aventador LP-700 Giallo, that one, Orion, isn't it? That kit is HK119. The instructions for the older kit, which I believe was the black one or the orange one, was HK100. And you can go to the Pocher website and you can actually download these instructions. And these are HK100 instructions. The kit appears, I'm not going to say it is for fear of being slandered, but it appears to be identical. So there may be a couple of differences with badging and stuff, but it appears to be identical. There are hints and tips in here that you don't get in the other instructions. There are bits in here that are missing out of the other instructions, and the build sequence in here is a lot safer than in the other instructions. For some reason, the newer instructions are not as helpful as the older instructions. So that's usually the other way around. But unless, of course, HK100 did come out after HK119. I very much doubt it, but who knows. Anyway, so that's what we looked at. So well worth having a look because I pick up on the issues in there. So this video now, we're actually going to make a start on the build. These videos are going to be one, maybe two a week, probably more like one a week, 1 hour long, and we'll just sit and build and we'll see how far we get. Obviously I'm going to be editing it. I'm not going to expect you to sit there and watch me put in countless numbers and screws and stuff. On the thing about threads and thread cutting and everything, I mentioned last week about the thread cutting, and I've had a couple of people asking where to get the thread cutting taps from. This company here, they have an eBay website, an eBay shop, sorry, on eBay in the UK. I've been onto their website and it would appear they have better stock on their eBay shop than they do online. Very, very strange. But the taps you basically need to get for this are the 1.8, the 2.3, where you can see from the screws, 1.8, 2.3, 2.6 and 3. And they're all normal coarse threads. Okay, they're not fine threads, so don't be tempted to go and buy the 2.3 by 0.35. I think it's by 0.45, or is it that's the 2.6? I think the 2.3 is 0.4. I think the 2.6 is 0.45. The 3 is 0.5, and the 1.8 is a 0.35. I think. Whatever they are, but just make sure you don't go for the fine. When it says the number, it will say 2.6 by. Go for the biggest number, okay? So don't go for the 2.6 by 0.35, get the 2.6 by 0.45. And as I suggested before, if you go for the number 2 tap, that's probably the best way to go for this, because most of the threads you're cutting are into blind holes. So you think, I'll get a bottoming tap, but the trouble is with the bottoming tap, it has no lead and you may just not want to screw in. So go for the second, and you can grind some metal off the end. I covered all that in last week's video, and I've also done a beginner's video all about it, so you can go and have a look on there. Tools we talked about, yeah, we've got the tools here. I'm not going to talk about them again. As you can see on here, we've got a gloss black finish now. If you remember, I said I wanted to paint this gloss. This was because I saw these images online. I'll put one up now, and you can see that all the subframe is gloss. Now, some will say that's just a demo. I found some other pictures. In fact, if I think about it, I'll put one up now, and you can see that the frame is actually gloss on the production car. So I want those frames to be gloss. I'm not sure how much I'm going to see, if any, but it's just going to look nice while we're building it. So, as with all things, when you go through the instructions, you're going to read all the attention bits and pieces and everything. Make sure you familiarise yourself with all this. There's one bit missing here, and also missing from the HK instructions. And that is when you've got your body done, it's telling you here to put in MT01 and MT02. They're mats, okay? They're not actually called up at all in the HK119 instructions, but you do have the mats in the bag. They're in the bag with the decals and everything. If you go back to my review, you'll see them there. And as with all things, what we're going to do is basically make a start. And we're going to make a start at step 16, because why wouldn't you? The reason I'm doing step 16, if you look at the way they have you build it in the instructions, there is absolutely nothing wrong with any build sequences in here. It's all fine, but those who watch me regularly will know I like to change things about a bit. The reason I don't want to do it this way, they've got you doing the interior. Okay, so that's all going to be done. Then you're doing all the dashboard and everything, and then you're doing all the roof lining, and you're going to install that into the body and everything, and then we're going to start on the engine. Well, once you've got the body done, okay, so you've got your body done here, and then we're going to start on the engine, and then we're going to be, that body is going to be sat around for quite a few weeks, collecting dust and everything, possibly getting damaged, getting scratched or whatever. So I've chosen not to do that until I need it. So what I'm going to do in this build, I am going to go 16, 17, 18, come here, and then I'm going to go 19, 20, okay, and you can see here we've got sub-assembly K20, okay, so that's going to be our front suspension with all the brakes and everything on. I'm probably going to add the discs and the calipers at this stage rather than later on. As I say, I am going to change things about a bit. So there we are. So that's our front suspension done, and then I'm not going to go to 21. I'm going to go back to I'm going to go back to step 7. Yep. So that's the way we're going to do this, and we're going to build the engine. Then we'll do all the rear suspension and everything, and then we're going to have a rear subframe K number 15. Okay. Then we'll do the body. Then we can screw these on. That way the body is not sat around waiting forever to have all this done, okay, because it's a big old model. The body alone, just the center tub, is huge, and I don't want to have it sat around collecting dust. So I'm going to be doing painting. I'm going to paint all the parts according to my colors I found on Google. Did I say eBay earlier on? Sorry, Google. And basically paint all of this and make it all look sexy, because I want it to look really, really nice. As I say, when it's all covered up with the body on, I'm not sure you're ever going to see it, but it's going to look nice. I mean, we may be able to lift the body off. Who knows? Who knows? We're not there yet. So the first thing we're going to do is get the parts ready. So, again, this sort of thing I'm talking about in this video, I'm never going to cover it again. So if you're new to the hobby, you're new to Pocher, you want to sort of build along with me and do it exactly the same, whatever, like I know some people do, then you can just follow along with what I'm talking about now. So as you know, we've cut all the threads in there. So that is my advice. When you get a part, get it off wherever you need to get it from. Get the part, cut all your threads, paint it, do whatever. So all the threads on this part are cut. And we've now got no worries about thread cutting swarf getting anywhere else, because all of the threads are cut for all the bits we need to do. We'll do the same with the body. We'll do the same with the rear subframe. We'll do the same with everything. So now I'm going to talk about part preparation. I'm just going to put this out of the way a minute. Right, talk about getting the parts off the sprues and everything. As I say, I'm only going to cover this in one video, in this video. You're not going to have to watch this every time I do a video. So we're starting off with step 16, and we can see on here we have our part numbers. We have K0104, okay, we've got SP01, and then we've got T. Now, and you've got WD, that's going to be an Öhlins decal, I expect. It's going to be Öhlins WD09. WD09. Yeah, they're Öhlins decals. That's really nice. They're going to look great on the shocks. We're going to paint our shocks that lovely Öhlins anodized colour, so I'll show you how to do that. And then we're going to add this part here, K010. So what I've done, we've got T. This is T. T, and then we've got R, and we've got S, and we've got V. When you've just got one letter and a number, that means it's going to be on a sprue. So you can see here, this is a plastic sprue. It's called K032, as you can see. Well, we might as well get out of the bag, haven't we? Let's get this bag open. These bags are massive. So let's get this bag open. Okay, we'll cut the end off, throw the end away, and then we have bag. Keep the sprues in the bags. The reason I say that, when they're in the box and they slide around on each other like that, it's absolutely fine. Okay, if they're kept out of the bag, right, and we just cut the bottom of the bag so we don't lose our K043. If you have them out of the bag and they are left lying around in the box to rub around on each other. I'm not going to do it, but you can imagine what's going to happen there. Okay, so keep them in the bag, and then you know they'll be safe. All right, that's my advice. So you can see on here we have K032. Okay, that's not to be confused with these K010s. That means they're separate parts. I'll show you that in a second. And then here we have S. So you have Pocher, and then you have S. Okay, so that's what we're looking for, is the letter on there. So I've marked the bag, as I have here, K043V. Okay, so if it does accidentally call up K043 and you're thinking, what is that? You'll know when you look through your sprues. And what I've done here, I'm doing 16, 17 and 18. And what I've done here, I've got all the sprues out that I need. So I've got T, I've got R, I've got S, and we also need this tray. And you can see on here, K010-04. So we've got K010-04. There she is there, right? Now, this plastic tray has these ties on it. Now, what you might be able to do is get that tie to go back through the hole, and then you can open it. But what I seriously wouldn't recommend doing is cutting those ties and taking the top off, because what's going to happen, they're going to get rattled around and the parts are going to get confused where they go. Now, I think once we've done these little bits here, I don't think it really matters, because the rest of them are going to be quite obvious. They're not going to fit in each other's pockets. So depends what you want to do. When Moss did his build, I saw him, he was actually cutting these out and getting them out individually. I'm going to see if I can get those ties to go back through, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I managed to get those ties through, so we can actually open this up, save us cutting it open. And we can get these parts out. We need K010-04. Come out, please. God blimey. Right, there's that one. And then we'll get this one out as well. I'm worried about scratching it. That's the trouble with using a metal tool. Let's use a cocktail stick. There we go. Got him. Right, so that's all the parts we need out of there. Oh, we need that one as well. We need K01009, which is that central pivot. So we'll get that out as well. So a cocktail stick, we can stab it and pull it out. That's in there really tight, that one. So we'll get that one out. There we go. Okay, I'm not sure if all these parts are metal or plastic or what they are. So that is that. Right, so we've got some thread cutting to do. I'm just going to push those back through there. Just like that. Just give it a pull. And that's all secure now for when we need it. Get them back through there. Come on. Sorry guys, you don't want to watch this, do you? Right, there we go. So that's that done. So that's all the parts that are there that we need. So we can put that to one side now. So we've got those three parts there. I'm not sure if that's metal or plastic. I think it's metal. I think it's metal, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's very light. So we've got some thread cutting to do on there for E screws, and there's another screw going to go in the bottom there. So we'll get those thread cut in a minute. We've got our arms there. After I closed it all up, I need those shafts as well. I'll get those out in a minute. And then we got our springs, which are over here in our box. I've also added the metal stickers and the lovely Lamborghini badge. So we've got the SP01 springs for the front suspension there. And as you can see, we've got parts coming from everywhere. And that's why I said get the boxes, the frets, whatever you need for these steps. And then you're not going to be forever hunting around, because there are lots and lots and lots of sprues. I think there's 20, I think it goes up to Y. So that'd be 25 sprues. And then of course you've got all the other bits and pieces as well. Like all these bits is in this box. There's all the bits in bags. You've got all your screws, your springs. There's hundreds of parts. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is look at actually getting these plastic parts off. So we've got, coming down into this box here, we've got T02, T03, T04 and all of that. So what we're going to do, get the tea bag. We'll get our tea bag out, and what we're going to do is cut this bag open. As I say, you won't have to listen to this in another video. We're only going to do it in this one. Sorry guys, cough time there. Right, so we've got our sprue here, and this is a nice hard styrene. And the first thing I'm going to do, it looks like this might be painted actually. The first thing I'm going to do with each sprue is see if we can use Tamiya extra thin with it. Okay. I just want to see if it actually attacks the plastic. This is actually painted, so we'll remove some paint from there. Where's my radius brush gone? It's there underneath that box. So what I'm going to do here is remove some paint. Okay, and then I'm going to get some Tamiya extra thin on there and see if it actually attacks it. Because some of this, usually I thought these sprues had to have a CE marking on them with the type of material that it was. And it would appear that it is affecting it. I think this one will be better. This is the extra thin quick setting. Yes, we can see that is sticky. So basically we'll be able to stick this with styrene cement and not have to use super glue. Styrene cement gives it a better weld joint, and also when you do use super glue it tends to be a little brittle. So looking here, we're going forward here. I'm going to get all the parts I need for this lot. So TO2L, TO2R. So we can see we've got TO2, L and R there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we will get our cutters and we're going to cut the parts off. Now you might be tempted to go right up to the part like this. I've done a video on this in my beginner series if you want to see it. But you might be tempted to go right up to the part and cut. The problem is with that, quite often what happens, you'll rip a chunk of the plastic out. So we just come back just a millimetre or two, and we're going to come back and leave that like that. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to cut this sprue like this, and that way I can keep the identification of the parts. We've got L and R on there. All right, so that's a little tip. And then we're going to look at the instructions, and we can see that on this inner end there's no pip or anything. There's no, so we can go up to it and we can cut it off. The difference is we're doing it now up against the part is you've only got a little piece of plastic which is going that way. When you do it on the sprue, you're cutting through it and you're not actually like sawing through it, you're actually wedging it away, and as it wedges away it can pull a chunk of plastic out. So now you're safe to go in like that. And then I'm going to use a little sanding stick. This is a UMP product sanding stick, and I'm just going to go in with this one. I usually use my Infinity sanding sticks. You can see I've got the complete set here. You can get from Premium Hobbies, which is this is like £60 or £70 I think, but well worth having. They are probably the best sanding sticks on the planet. So we can do that and we can sand that, and you can see because it's painted, it's not just grey plastic. You can see that where you're sanding, and you can see when it's all nice and flush. So there we go. We've cut those sprue nibs off now. We won't take them off those sprue until we're actually going to use them. The other way you could do it is mark them on the inside with an L and an R, or an L and an R. I got the wrong cutters here. They are absolutely worn out, those. These are much better. Right. And I could do the same and get all the other parts off. We've got TO3 and 04. So TO3 and 04. Where's 03 and 04? TO3. There we go. Sorry. Duh. So we've got TO3 and 04. So 04 has the differential on it. 03 is just the shaft on its own. Something here is broken. I heard it rattle. Is that there that's rattling around? Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to cut that off, because what's going to happen, that's going to rattle around and it's going to scratch that paint. So there we go. So we've got TO3, TO4, and you can see on here we have an absolutely massive sprue gate. Okay, underneath my finger that is huge. Whereas you normally get like a little bit like this, what we've got here is a great big huge gate. Now we need to make sure that that has got to remain flat on the end, and it looks like it does. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut it here about 1 millimetre back. Okay, it's nice plastic this, and you can see on here we have pins on that differential, so make sure you don't cut those off. We can go right up to the end of those pins, because the end of the pins don't matter. Here where it matters, we're going to stay away, and we've got our part off. So that's TO4, and we'll get TO3, exactly the same, staying away from the parts. In there doesn't matter because that's going inside, so we just cut right up to it. And then we've got T07, and it's giving us a tension sign. Make sure you don't cut the pip off the end. So T07 is here, that's the shaft, and what they're telling you is this bit here, make sure you notice that bit there, don't cut that pip off the end, because when you look at it that way around, it's a very good suggestion. You see, that is not in the newer instruction manual, but this you would easily come in and cut like that, turn it over and look at it. Always look carefully at your parts, cut it off there. Okay, same here, leave that pin on the end, cut it off there. Okay, so that's weighty. T07, and then we've got T01, T01, which is there, and that's the end cover. So we'll cut that off again, we'll leave some material on. There we go. When you're cutting small parts off, try and hold the part as you cut it, because quite often when you cut them, they go flying across the room, never to be seen again. And then here we've got T09, we've got these shock absorber bodies, which is nice. They've made these with slide moulding in one piece, so we don't have to glue them together and end up with two halves. So we've got those there, and those there. There we go. So that's that. So that's all the parts there. We've got all the parts there. And then I think what I'm going to do is not get the parts off for this step. I think we're just going to deal with this up here initially. I may well... KR00401, where on earth am I going to find that? I thought that was a sprue. Excuse the noise of the kids outside, gents. They're well, that part is there. It's on. It's R15. So why have they called that KR00401? We'll have a look in the other manual. I got a feeling it is R15. Maybe they used to make it out of metal and now they make it out of plastic. Who knows? Anyway, I won't worry about all this yet until we get up to here, but I may cut that off because I may need to paint it as I'm going to have to paint this. So, that's not very good, is it? Look how distorted that is. Blimey. That's come out of the mould like that. That's actually been bent post-moulding. Oh dear. First part, we got an issue. But, as I say, a lot of it isn't going to be seen, but yeah, that's not very nice at all, is it? Or maybe it's supposed to be like that. Is this one like it? Yeah, that one's like it as well. So, for some reason... Oh, blimey, that was noisy enough, wasn't it? So yeah, maybe they're supposed to be like that. We shall see. If not, we can just warm them up and bend them back. So here on the ends, we can just trim off our sprue nibs, or sprue gates. Here on the radius part, what I would suggest is go back fairly close to the part. And then we're going to use a wider sanding stick. And then just, don't try and do this. The correct way to sand a radius is like that. Okay, if you want to go back to your apprenticeship days. But the easiest way to do it is to make sure you're 90 degrees. Okay. And do this, and just keep going around like that, and that is the best way I find to get a radius on a part like this. I don't know if that got into shot then, a fly just wanted to join in. Okay, so there we go. And that is sanding the radius. You can go like that, you can go like that, or you can go like that. There's more than one way to skin a cat. The other thing we want to get rid of, you can see around here there is a line. Okay, there's the line, and that is where the two halves of the mould have come together and come apart. So that's been made like that, and then the mould halves have come apart, and you end up you're going to get a line. It is unavoidable. Okay, sometimes they're very small, sometimes they're very big. Sometimes you get mismatched. So instead of the part being like that, it's sort of like that. But it's generally unavoidable as the tool wears out. So what we're going to do is use our sanding stick and just remove that line because it looks awful. Alright, so take your time. This is not a race. If you want to build one of these as fast as you can, you can just get the parts off the sprues, chuck it all together, and you will still end up with a lovely model. There is a video on YouTube, I'm sure I've seen it on YouTube, of a guy building one of these, I think in 26 hours was it? And if you had all the parts off the sprues, you could probably do it in much less. I found with watching Moss's video, he spent more time searching for the bloody sprues than anything else. Right, so here where we've got the radius on the side, make sure we don't go too close. Cut those away. And then we can, again, with our sanding stick, these sanding sticks are absolutely worn out. I need to replace them. You can sand away that seam should you want to. You can use your little skinny stick. And the beauty of this, with them being pre-painted, you can see where you've sanded. It's great. I'm going to get a slight, this is a 400 grit, but it's not as worn out as that 400 grit. I'm just going to sand away that sprue gate, just like so. And there we go. Okay, so we've got the sprue gate and the seam. You can see how much better it looks now. That side we have the seam and the sprue gate, that side we don't. So we do the same thing on this side. And then once we've done that, we can come in with a sanding sponge from our Infini sponge from our Infini ones, and just sand there, and that'll just make sure any little flat spots or anything we put on there with the sanding stick, we can now get rid of. There you are. And once you see it all painted, you'll see it looks lovely. So we just scrape away those seams on there, scrape away those seams on there. Okay, you can scrape them all, make sure you get into the corners. And then I've got the, where's my little sponge gone? There it is, my little sanding sponge. That'll get tight into all the corners and just remove that mould seam, just like so. Okay. Remember guys, this is like I don't want to call it a tutorial, but showing you how I do all this. And this will only be in this video. It's not going to be death by sanding stick. In future videos, even in this video, it'll be, right, I'm going to go and clean those up and I'll be back. And you know exactly what I mean. This is what I'm doing when I say clean up. Okay, and then probably we will get to the stage where, you know, by the third part of the build, I'll probably come on the screen with all the parts prepared. So there we go. I'm going to be painting pretty much everything. As I say, you don't have to. It's not a necessity. Pocher have, I keep calling him Pocher. Pocher have actually taken the time to paint and stuff, and you know, you don't have to. I want to because I'm a scale modeler. I'm not a car enthusiast. Well, I am a car enthusiast, but I want to build a beautiful scale model. I'm not interested in building it by next Wednesday. I don't care if it takes me a year. I just want it to be nice. Okay, so there we go. That's all that done. I'm going to go on and finish the other parts, and then I'll come back. Okay, so you can see now we've got our parts all cleaned out. All the seams are gone, even on the die cast metal parts here. I have got a lathe. I'm tempted to stick these up in the lathe just to make them look a bit nicer, but we shall see. But yeah, all the seams are done. We've got these rocker pieces here. Checking for sprue gates on these pieces. There's no mold seam or anything on there, so they're absolutely fine to use as they are. This piece here, this is K010-09. I don't know why I have to give it such a long number. This is actually made of metal, and we've got 2 E-screws going in here, because these shock absorber bodies are going to go on there. Now I've already checked with they're all 2.6s, the E's and the B screws, and I've checked that it's correct, because I don't want to make the mistake of tapping a hole in something where the screw is going to go through. So you can see here that, for example, that tap won't go through there, but it will go through. Make sure you get this the right way up. It will go through there. So we know that the thread needs to be cut into this part here. So we are going to use it dry. Now what we could do here is stop short and end up with like a thread locking. Okay, or we could use thread lock. I prefer to use thread lock, basically because you can see we're right through there. Basically because if you have the thread jamming, you can't feel when the screw is down. And with these, you can see they're telling us here, go down and then back half a turn. I don't want to go back half a turn. I want to go back just a touch, just so it pivots. I don't want lots of flop and play. Now going into here is a screw B, so I'm going to grab from my box of screws, I'm going to grab a screw B, and I'm just going to check that goes in there nicely. I'm just going to grab a screwdriver a second. I don't have my proper one out, my new ones that I showed you, so I use this one. I just want to check that it's going to go in there okay, just check we've got the right thread. Okay, it doesn't want to go in that side. That is very tight. I just need to check that I'm doing this right. Hang on a second. Okay, so that was crazy. Something to look out for. If you're not tapping your threads, doesn't matter. But if you look here, this is a B screw. Okay, put that on the screwdriver, and I can screw that into there. And it goes in with my fingertips, as you can see. Okay. That's a 2.6 by 6mm screw. Here's an E screw, which is the same thing, but it has a washer on it. As you can see, that one goes in there with fingertip ease. Absolutely beautiful. Here's another B screw. Put that on there. I'm not going to grunge it too hard because I don't want to damage the thread, but you can see it goes very tight, and then it's really difficult to get in there. So you measure them up. You think, well, I'll just measure the diameter. Is it 2.6? Yep, it's 2.59. That one over there. This one here, 2.59, 2.58. Then I got a 10 times magnifier, and you can see that this thread in here is not fully formed. It's like the thread depth is too thin, too small. So the actual core diameter, the root diameter, is larger than that screw there. So I'm going to put that one there. I'm going to get my pen in case I forget why I did that, and I'm going to make this one X, and that is dodgy screws. And then if we do have a position where we don't need to tap a thread, or we can't get any of the tap or something, we can use that screw in there. Okay, so I've got all these tapped out now. Just want to do the bottom of this one, so I'm just going to check on the instructions. I've got all this grit on here. I'm going to put these screws back. This one is E, this one is B. Put these to one side, and pick this instruction manual up and get rid of all this swarf off of here, because that gets stuck in your paint and it's horrible. And then this one going up here, that's another E screw, going to go up and hold that in. So that's good, so that's another 2.6. So we've got the 2.6 tap. Make sure it's nice and square. And then just tap our thread. It will generally find its own squareness, but you might find it wanders off a little bit. It's not really that important if it does wander off a bit. Just go into there. You can see the reason I use a pin vise rather than a tap wrench. The tap spins when it reaches the bottom. So there we go. And don't forget, I've ground away the end of the tap, as you saw in last week's show. So there we are. So that is going to physically fit onto there, like that. So that's going to go down in there. So as you can see, I want to paint that gloss black. Now this has been done with a clear coat. I've used this stuff here. This is U-Pol. I've got a new tin of it. This is U-Pol 1K Smart Clear. Okay, and then basically I'm not going to do that with clear coat. I'm going to spray that with gloss black, and I'm going to use the best gloss black on the planet. This is this one here, GX2 Mr. Colour Gloss Black. It is unbelievable. It's really, really good. So I've got some here which is pre-thinned, ready for the airbrush. And I think what I'll do now with this grit here, you can get one of these on Amazon. I don't have any Amazon shops. I'm not affiliated or anything. I don't want to make any money out of you. T-Hoo, little vacuum, brilliant for the bench. And it will vacuum up that swarf there, as you can see. Okay, so great little tool to have. There are cheaper ones on Amazon. I wouldn't bother. I bought one and it didn't even, the batteries couldn't even physically connect. So there we go. So now we have all our threads cut. We've got our threads cut in there, and that's that. So what I'm going to do now is go away and get these parts primed. I'm going to use a metal primer on these because they're metal, and for that I use something called U-Pol Acid Etch. I think it's number 8. U-Pol Acid Etch Primer. There are better etch primers out there, but these days, since legislation has made health and safety ruin everything in some instances. Basically, etch primers aren't really very good anymore, not as good as they used to be. They used to be the 2-pack ones you could get, and they were absolutely incredible. Anyway, enough about that. So I'm going to go and get some priming done, and then I'll be back. What I'm probably going to do is get this piece here off the sprue, because I believe that has also got to be a high gloss black. There's no point in me cleaning out the airbrush twice when I can just do it the once, spraying those 2 parts. Back in a minute. Okay, so looking here, we know that these parts are painted. I just said I'm going to go off and do some priming, but before I'm going to do that, I've actually got this part off and cleaned it up as well, and the little R14 that goes on there too. This is like a lower cross member. Now in the middle there's the battery. I'm guessing that's going to be the washer fluid, or maybe the brake fluid or something, but I don't have this brake fluid actually that low down. But we'll get all that painted, all looking pretty. Remember, this is painted. Now glue doesn't work very well, or these Tamiya cements don't work very well when there's paint in the way, especially good paint like this. So basically I'm just going to scrape away the paint from the joining faces, and just so that we get a good glue joint, and then we're going to glue this together, let it dry, and then we can sand the seam. And we're going to paint, these are like CV boots, these are going to be like a black rubber colour, so we'll paint those up, looking lovely. And then these here, we've got again we can scrape the paint off of here. We don't need to go mad, we can just scrape away like so. Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to actually get a sanding stick. Where is my little sanding stick gone? Just going to, it's very difficult to sand these because you can see on here they've got a raised ridge which helps locate the part. So see, we don't need to go mad with the sanding. We just want to get the paint off, or most of the paint off, to allow the glue to do its thing, because it doesn't actually glue, it melts the plastic together. So this is the this is TO3. We know that because it's a single unit. TO4 has the differential attached, and then this one is going to be the right. So this one here is R. So we'll get that one off the sprue. Remove the sprue nib. Give the end a quick sand. We don't need to fuss too much about that because we're going to be sanding the seam. So this one is R, that one is L. So that one's going on there. This one's going on here, and it looks like, wrong way around, Lloyd, duh. That looks like a very tight fit. It is. I don't like forcing things together. So what I'm going to do, this is a great little tool to have in your arsenal. It's a little digital caliper, really handy to have. We can see that's 1.55. So I am going to get a 1.6mm drill. These little drill sets are brilliant as well. And just see if I can drill that out. You can see it's hardly anything to come out because I can do it even without putting it in a pin vise. We'll just draw this one out as well, the same, because we're going to glue these parts together. We don't need that tough friction in there. Okay, and if the parts are misaligned, then we'll even cut the pin off. These drills here, absolutely brilliant. These drills here, you see, like this type, don't bother, they're awful. They're carbide, they snap like that, especially the smaller ones. They have a very coarse helix on them, so they will try and wind themselves into the plastic and then snap. If you use them with a drill, the fast moving drill tool, they're fine, but no good for hand drilling. You need to get yourself these microbox. Make sure the microbox is all in capital letters. Make sure it's the light blue box, they're the genuine ones. There's loads of copies out there. The way I always tell, if they're £10, they're probably genuine. So there we go. Right. So we've got that off the sprue ready, we've drilled that out. How is that going to fit in there now? There we go, that's how it should fit. As you can see, we have lovely alignment on there. So basically I am going to, I don't normally do this, I normally glue afterwards, but I'm going to put some of the extra thin quick setting around there. Okay, just brush that on, let it do its work. And then we'll put this together. And then we can get some ordinary extra thin. Just dab that on the outside and let capillary action pull it into the joint. We'll see if it's going to work. If not, we'll have to let it dry and use super glue. Make sure they're aligned. Yeah, that pin is causing, you can see that this, when you look at it end on, you can see it's like that. That pin is causing misalignment. So I'm going to quickly get my knife in there, pull it apart. I'm going to cut that pin off. Okay, don't be scared of doing that. Do it on all your scale model kits. If it's causing you a problem, get it off. Okay, I'm going to go with the quick setting again because this quick setting seems to work better on this plastic than the ordinary extra thin. I'm going round the sprues, and I'm actually I've got on the back of the instructions, I've got A to Y, and I've got TET and QS, Tamiya extra thin and quick setting, and I'm putting a tick by each sprue because I don't think some of them will take it. Certain materials, where's my tweezers? I use tweezers to squeeze this and make sure it's level. Certain materials don't go well with Tamiya extra thin or the quick setting. So now we've got that together, we can grab a clothes peg, just peg that together. That's the trouble, it's rocking because it's on an angle. Probably best not to clamp it because you're likely to pull it out of position. Alright, so that's that one done. And then we'll do the same on this one. I'm going to cut this off the sprue. Remove that bit on there. Quick sand. And then I'm going to just remove the pin off of here anyway because I know it's probably going to cause issues. There we are. If you want to just not use glue and force it together, you carry on and fill your boots because none of this is really going to be seen on the finished model anyway unless you turn it over and look at it. I'm not just building this for the end result, I'm building it for the journey. I enjoy adding detail, I enjoy painting things up, I enjoy doing seam lines, stuff like that. As I say, you may only be interested in getting a great big Lamborghini on your shelf. That's absolutely fine. If that's the way you want to do it, you carry on and do it your way. It's your model. You can make it your way. There we are. Get rid of that, throw that away in the bin. There we are. Just go around a bit more, just make sure we've got plenty in there. I don't think it's taking that well, but it is taking, so. Right, so we'll leave those for a while, let them dry, and then see about sanding the seams. Back in a minute. I forgot to pick up on before we start the painting. On this prop shaft here, you can see we have these ejector pin marks. Unfortunately, they are the bane of all scale modelers, but they are unavoidable. It's part of the moulding process. The parts have to be pressed out of the tool in 99.9% of cases, so you get them. And unfortunately, sometimes they're in places which are obvious. Now, none of this is going to be obvious on the finished model. I keep saying it's going to have a great big underbelly going on. It's all going to be covered up. If you want to do it right and you want to do it nice, you want to use it as practice for future projects, then what I've got here is a VMS Flexi 5K CA. This is absolutely brilliant stuff. You can get it from Premium Hobbies, you can get it from Scale Model Shop. I'm sure there's other people in the country doing it now. It is absolutely the best super glue on the planet. The downside to it is it doesn't cure very quickly. The upside to it is it doesn't cure very quickly. It's wonderful stuff, and we all know that we've built models before, we've used super glue, and you kind of put two parts together, say, oh no, and it's just glued instantly. With this stuff, it takes a little while to dry, and what I'm doing, I'm just putting in these ejector pin marks, and what I'm doing is letting it sort of bulge up because it will shrink back as it dries. Alright, and then what we can do is, if we want to, we can give it some accelerator. We can put that down on there. I want it to stay like that, so what I'm going to do is grab a clamp or clothes peg What I do is put a clothes peg on it like that, and then it can't roll over. Put the lid back on the super glue. Don't want to leave it all open, because if you knock it over, it'll go everywhere, and also it dries out. This stuff, the other beauty about this stuff, it lasts. I mean, you can see on here, this was actually made on the 20th of July, 22. So it's nearly 2 years old, and it's still absolutely fine. And as you can see, it's still thin. Super glues go off; they get thicker as they go off. This stuff is just the best. So what I'm going to do now is just quickly. There's all sorts of different accelerators out there. I use this Vital Bond one. I'm just going to quickly spray a drop on there, and that'll be it. And that'll just help it speed up a bit. It won't go off instantly. It won't all go white and hard and crack up like normal super glue does. It just dries. It's lovely, lovely stuff. It dries like hard plastic. And as the name implies, it's flexible, so it's not all brittle like most super glues are. You'll see me using it in my other builds. If you're following on my other builds I'm doing, you'll see me use it all the time. It's the only super glue I use now. And generally the black thin is the one I go to. I've got the other ones as well, but generally black thin is the best. So we're going to let that dry, get that sanded down, let these dry, get them sanded down, and then we'll get some priming done, and I will see you back for that. It's probably going to be tomorrow now for me, but it's going to be like that for you. Okay, so there we go. There's all the parts, all cleaned up, all primed. These shafts here, because these are made of metal, you can actually remove all the paint. I'll show you when I take the tape off. And you can actually polish them with your sanding sticks. I use this 4000 grit sponge in the end. And you can polish them to make them look like the chrome shafts rather than try and paint them. So that's pretty cool. What I may do is give them a clear coat, just in case the metal tarnishes over time. You know, you don't want to come back to your model in 6 months and it's all covered in a white crust or something. You just don't know what's going to happen. So I'll give them a clear coat. Because they're a round shaft, the clear coat will form like a shell around it, and it shouldn't flake off or peel off or anything. And after that, we're not going to be playing with this. So once it's built, it's just going to sit still, isn't it? We've done the gloss on the this part here, which is K01009. And you can see the gloss on there is quite acceptable. A little bit better. You can see the gloss is quite acceptable on there, so that's good to go. I've given this a quick flash over with the gloss paint because I'm going to give this a coat of the clear coat. I just wanted to make sure the colour matches the subframe here, so that'll be given a clear coat. I'll clear coat the whole thing. I didn't bother gloss black painting this because we're going to be painting the battery separately, but we've got decals going on the battery, so I want a gloss coat for the decals to go down to nicely. It's always worth having. You can do it, but if the decals aren't very good, they won't stick to that surface. They'll need a gloss surface. We've got this this front prop shaft. I've managed to find pictures. eBay is a great source. Yes, I mean eBay, not Google. For parts, because there seems to be loads of Aventadors being broken, and obviously they're crashed front or back or whatever, so the good parts from the front or the back or whatever are being sold, so you can find lots of really good parts. So yeah, these CV joints are kind of silvery, and then we've got the shafts actually black. Obviously they've made this, you can see they've made it like a parallelogram, whereas it should be sort of angled on the ends, but you know, I wish it was made better, but it's not. So there we go. But it's absolutely fine like it is. As I say, at the end of the day, you're not going to really be able to see any of it anyway. I'm only doing this for the fun. But you can see on here, because we've got primer on there, I can see a little witness of a seam. So we'll do some more sanding on those and get those cleaned up. We've got these shock absorber units here. I want to get a really nice finish on there, and you can see I've got some marks there where I've been sanding it. And I'm going to actually see if I can get those out with this 400 grit stick, and then prime them again. And now I'm going to show you how to do the anodized gold of the O-lins on there. Rear cover for the differential, so that's where the shaft goes in. So that's all primed in black. And then I've got the differential itself. Again, I got a picture off of eBay of that, so you can see this end cover is a lot brighter. This is all sort of a dark casting, almost like a gunmetal grey, and then this one here is sort of a brighter colour, and then this end cover is a brighter colour, and then we've got the bright colour here on the output, and then we've got the gloss black of the shaft, we've got the silver on the CV joints, we've got the black on the boots. It's all going to look quite interesting rather than just being a big blob of silver plastic. So there we go. So there, I'm going to leave all this to dry overnight now. It's still Saturday, and we'll come back tomorrow. I was hoping to get a video out today on this because Saturday seems to be the day I do them. But Hence, no, it's not going to happen. So I'll see you in a minute, and hopefully you'll get this video tomorrow, Sunday. By the way, guys, I'm sorry, I said I would mention tools as I go through, didn't I? These are, I think they're high Q from Japan. They may be Infini, I'm not sure. But these are the soft-ended ones. You can see they've got a soft end. It's basically a crocodile clip with a cover over it. So they're good for gripping parts that you don't want to damage, or like this metal parts that would just slide out. And then we've got these here. These are the internal. In fact, I'll show you. This is the internal opening one. So they'll go up into a hole. Not sure if they'll fit in here. No, they won't, but they'll go up into a hole if you need to hold something internally. These, I think, are Infini. These are all available from this company here, Premium Hobbies in the UK. If they're still available, I don't know if he still does them. And then you've got the ordinary, these type here, which are the ordinary sort of crocodile clamps. They're really handy. And then you can see the base here. I've actually made this by cutting up some corrugated cardboard into a long strip and then just rolling it up and making it into a box and then putting tape around it just to hold it all together. So that's an easy stand. Or you can buy the proper job like this one here. This is the Infini paint clip stand. So you can buy the proper one, they all sit in there. What I like about this, the corrugated cardboard, is when you've got these wooden ones, they've got quite a big end on them. They will stand in there, but they aren't very stable. But when you've got those big slots there, and then here you've got the shafts go in there and they spin around. But here, this shaft here, as you can see, that will spin around in there. But I can use the corrugated cardboard, put it in one of the small holes, and it won't, sorry, let's use one of the small holes over here, and it won't spin around. Okay, unless I move it, it won't just spin around. So, you know, pays your money, takes your choice. That's a far more professional way of doing it, but that is a much cheaper way of doing it. In fact, it's if you've got an old box lying around, it's actually free. So there you go. So that's what I use for that. Oh, you got this one here. In fact, I'll show you these here. This is just a shaft with a point, and then they've etched up the end to make it rough so it grips the parts. So it's great for holding parts. You just sort of slip the part on like that and hold it to paint it. It doesn't fall off. Okay. So that's what I'm using there. So if I do use any tools and I forget to tell you what it is, just shout and I'll tell you in the next video. Right. Okay, so here we are. You join me back at the bench on this Sunday, and very, very warm and sunny again. Very difficult for airbrushing. The paint's just drying straight away. So with these clear coats and stuff, it's very difficult. So just to run you through what we've done, this prop shaft here, the ends are painted. I'm going to do this pretty much all the way through the videos. I'll tell you what I've used. LP-11 silver on the ends, and then we've got LP-1 black on the actual prop shaft itself. It's worth remembering these LP paints. If it just says red, green, blue, black, whatever, it's gloss. It will say flat if it's flat. Just assume it's gloss, or it'll say semi-gloss or whatever. But you can see that LP1 goes down beautifully, and you know, it's got a really nice shine to it. So that's that. This is all Mr. Surfacer black, which is what I use for my priming, thinned with Mr. Colour leveling thinners. The shock absorber shafts, they have, if you remember, I masked off the actual shaft. They have also been sprayed with LP-11. Okay, and then I've gone over them with the 1-pack clear coat. So that's there. The actual shock bodies, let's put that in this spin round. The shock bodies, they've been also done with LP-11 and then clear coat. All right, so you can see they're looking lovely. And then here the drive shaft, again LP-11 and then clear coat. Sorry, no, this is LP-70 on here on these ends, just to give it a bit of a sheen. LP-70 gloss aluminium, no clear coat, but just the gloss black. And there, the LP-1. So that's done. The rear cover for the differential is LP-11. Okay, so that's just a silver. And then the actual main casing for the front differential, this is a mix. What I've done, I've mixed up LP-11 and metallic grey, roughly 50-50, because the metallic grey is a little dark. I wanted to give this sort of a darker aluminium look, So you can see the difference there between the aluminium and the darker aluminium. It's slightly, just to give some variations. I'm not a big car modeler, but something I do know with cars, everything tends to be kind of silver and black. So to try and make it look interesting, kind of change the tones, change the sheens, you know, have some parts flat, some parts really glossy, some parts semi-gloss, some rubber black in there, you know, and I just try and, because I mean this is basically aluminium, plated steel, rubber, steel, painted steel, rubber. You know, it's very difficult. This is the lower cross member, and that's been sprayed with LP1. And again, we've gone over with the 1-pack clear coat. For some reason, the GX11, which normally goes down beautifully, has not been playing ball. Maybe it's because it's too warm, but I'm finding the LP1 far superior on this model, so I'm going to use it from now on. You can see on there, the sheen on there, that's gorgeous. LP1 on there, you can see it's very, very shiny indeed. Okay, so there we go. And that there's a little heat shield or something there, some shield of some sort, which goes on the cross member. That is again, that is like a plated steel or whatever, or it might be polished aluminium or a piece of aluminium, I don't know. But anyway, there we are. So that's that. This here, I've been looking at photographs, I can't find anything that represents this, so I'm just going to paint it dark grey or something and have it looking a little bit interesting. As I say, none of it's going to be seen, it's all just for the fun of the build. Another thing I wanted to say, which I forgot to mention previously, with any model, it's a good idea to go through, especially when you're doing what I'm doing and changing things around, put a line through. When you cut the parts off the sprue or take the parts out of their boxes or whatever, put a line through the parts that you can see I've done here. Okay, and then when you actually glue them, on, make that into a cross. Okay, so you know then so when this is all screwed together, I'll turn all of these lines into crosses. One thing I have noticed with this, we put these shock absorbers together and it's showing it like this. There's nothing to actually keep it together, so probably the best thing to do is screw these ends onto here, put them to one side, screw these pieces onto that piece in the center, put that to one side, and then when you get down, when you come over the page, screw that onto there, and then screw these onto there after the shocks are built up. Otherwise, if you try and hold all that together, it's all just going to be flopping about, and your lovely paintwork on here, if you've done it, is going to get scratched. So just bear that in mind. So yeah, we haven't done anything about this over here at all. I've got these pieces going on here, they're going to be gloss black. We've got the anti-roll bar and this forward cross member thing here, that's going to be gloss black. So there we are. So I'm just concentrating on 16, 17 and 18, and I am nearly at the hour. Now, it was stupid of me to say to you yesterday being Saturday, that I was going to try and get a video out today with all this painting done. Well, obviously not thinking. This clear coat needs like 24 hours to dry. It's touch dry now. I can touch it, but if I handle it, I'll leave finger marks in it. So, and as pretty much everything here is clear coated, the next thing I want to do is show you how I get this anodized orange look up for the Orion shock absorber bodies. So we'll do that, and also go in and do some detail painting on these shafts. There's rubber boots and stuff in here that need to be done. So there we go. You can also see, if you look on here, you can see I've not done some seam work very good. It needs to be sort of, you know, you can see I've got seams on there. Look, but you know, if I remove them and go over, it means I've got to paint everything silver again. We'll see if I bother or not. But there we go. So all looking good, all looking hunky-dory, but as I say, I've got to wait for this to dry now forever. That's had a very quick run over with the gloss, just to give something for the decal to go on. I've noticed I've got some bits of dust or something in there, so I may have to sand that and do it again. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you all soon. What I'll do, I'm going to carry on working on this, obviously, when the paint's dry. What I'll do is I'll put out another little sort of bonus video, if you like, and you'll see me getting all this painting finished, and then in the next part we'll start doing some assembly on it. So I'll see you all soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.